Hello guys, you are most welcome in Easy Economics session once again. In today's video, we will discuss the agricultural finance chapter. It is one of the important chapters in Indian economy and in Indian agriculture. We all know the importance of finance in any kind of business. Agriculture is also a kind of business. So finance play a very important role in agricultural sector also. And since our farmers are financially weak, so they need proper financial assistance. In this particular chapter, we are going to discuss the need and classification of agricultural finance. Then we'll discuss the different sources of agricultural finance, institutional and non-institutional sources. So let's move further. So what are the need for agricultural finance? Why farmers need agricultural finance? According to the time period, there are three kinds of loans needed by farmer. First is short-term loan. Its time period is up to 15 months. Second is medium-term loan. Its time period is 15 months to 5 years. And third is long-term loan. Its time period is more than 5 years. Mostly short-term loans are demanded by the farmers for their day-to-day agricultural activities, for purchasing of seeds, fertilizers, fodder, pesticides, etc. Medium-term loans are required for purchase of small tools, machinery, and for purchasing of cattle. Long-term loans are required for purchasing land, for improving irrigational facilities, for purchasing costly agricultural machineries, and for pay off old loans. So all these are different kinds of requirement by the farmers, and for all these purposes they need different kinds of loans. Now we'll see the sources of agricultural finance. If we look at the flow chart, we can say the sources of agricultural finance is classified into institutional sources and non-institutional sources. Now again, further classification of institutional sources. There are four types: cooperative credit societies, commercial bank, RRB and NABARD. As far as non-institutional sources are concerned, money lenders, traders, landlords, relatives and friends play an important role in providing rural credit. Non-institutional sources played a very important role, especially when there was lack of institutional sources, and just after independence, non-institutional sources were contributing around 93% in the total rural credit. It is easy to obtain loan from non-institutional sources because there is no formalities requirement. There is no delay. It's a simple procedure. But at the same time, there are many disadvantages of non-institutional sources because rate of interest is not fixed. Sometimes farmers lose their land and property in paying off such type of loans. Farmers are mostly exploited by money lenders and traders. So these non-institutional sources are not considered the reliable and authentic source for rural credit. That's why government is promoting institutional sources more and more in rural areas. If we look at this pie chart, we can compare the contribution of institutional and non-institutional sources in two time period, in 1951 and 2013. If we see the first pie chart, you can see it clearly that yellow part that shows the contribution of non-institutional sources in rural credit. It is around 93%, while at the same time institutional sources were very less and their contribution was just 7.2% in 1951. The situation is changed now after the expansion of banks and cooperative credit societies. Now the role of institutional sources is more important and they are contributing around 63% in total rural credit as per data provided by NSSO in 2013, while non-institutional sources contribution is reduced. It is 36%. Now we'll see the structure of cooperatives. For short-term and medium-term credit, the cooperative structures are classified into three types. At state level, state cooperative bank works. Central cooperative banks work at district level. And at village level, primary agricultural credit societies work. So there are three structures for short-term and medium-term credit. For long-term credit, there are Land Development Bank at state level and Primary Land Development Bank at district and village level. We'll see the details about cooperative credit societies. We all know that cooperative credit society was the revolution in the field of agricultural finance, and it is considered as the cheapest source of rural finance. They provide short-term, medium-term and long-term loans to farmers. These cooperative covers around 97% of the villages in India. If we look at the structure, the primary agricultural credit society that works at village level, its number is 94,647 and they provide short-term and medium-term loans. Central cooperative banks that work at district level, its number is 370 and it provides a link between primary societies and state cooperative banks. State cooperative banks that work at state level, its number is 31. It is the apex of cooperative credit structure and it acts as link between central cooperative banks and NABARD. Now we look at the achievements and problems of cooperative credit societies. No doubt that cooperative credit societies have played a very important role in rural credit. Their share to total credit has increased from 3% in 1951 to 27% in 2002. But due to loss and close of some branches in rural areas, its contribution declined in 2017 and it has come to 15%. In every state, cooperative credit structure is working, but it has not performed well in all the states. They have made good progress in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Punjab and Himachal Pradesh states. There are some problems. First is high level of overdues. Cooperative credit banks and societies are not able to provide loan in time. Their recovery position is also low since farmers are not repaying the loan in time. Cooperative credit societies are suffering from loss and it has reduced its loan giving capacity further. It is suffering from poor management as well. And another drawback of cooperative credit society is that it has mostly benefited the rich farmers and landlords. Poor and needy farmers have not received the sufficient finance from cooperative credit structure. Next important source under institutional sources, that is commercial bank. Commercial banks were not playing a significant role initially because number of banks were very less. There were no branches in rural areas and in 1951-52 it has contribution less than 1% in total rural credit. But after the nationalization of bank in 1969, they have continuously expanding their branch in rural areas and their contribution has been increased remarkably. In 2017, they contributed 79% in total rural credit. Its total number of branches is 90,830, out of which 33,795 are in rural areas. Commercial banks provide direct as well as indirect finance. Direct finance are provided for purchasing of pump sets, tractors, other agricultural machinery, construction of wells, tube wells, and for other agricultural activities to farmers. Indirect finance is granted to cooperative societies, FCI, state government, and other agencies engaged in procurement, storage, and distribution of food grains. It also provides credit through service units for warehousing, processing, marketing, transporting, etc. It means we can say that commercial banks are providing both types of financial help in agricultural area. It is providing direct loans to farmers for their need, and at the same time it provides loan facilities to different agencies that are working in rural areas, that are providing loan further to farmers. What are the achievements of commercial banks? Number of branches increased from 1860 to 90,830. This is really a big achievement of commercial banks. Share of rural credit has increased from 0.9% to 79%. This is also the significant achievement. It has helped rural population to free themselves from the clutches of money lenders. So far, farmers were dependent upon money lenders and landlords for the loan. Now, they are getting loans from commercial banks, so they are now not victim of money lenders. Commercial banks have helped farmers to use the modern methods of cultivation and improve their financial position. No doubt, commercial banks has helped a lot in improving the cultivation in rural areas. But again, commercial banks are also suffering from some problems. First, that is huge expenditures due to branch expansion. Branch expansion in rural areas need huge funds. Government has to spend lots of amount in setting up the branch. Second thing, cost of service increased with large number of small borrowings. It has been seen that farmers need loans for small purposes, and they borrow for small purposes, and for all these borrowings banks have to perform the formalities, and that's why the cost of service increased. Third is problem of bad debt. Again, this problem that every financial institution is facing. Farmers are unable to repay the loan in time, and sometimes they are not able to repay the loan at all, and it creates the problem of bad debt. Fourth is lack of coordination between the commercial banks, cooperative banks, and RRB. Since all these are important source of institutional finance and all these are working in rural areas, but there is lack of coordination among them, and that reduces their work performance. So guys, in this particular video, we discussed need for agricultural finance, sources of agricultural finance. Under the sources of agricultural finance, we discussed non-institutional sources, and under institutional sources, we discussed cooperative credit society and commercial banks. Rest two institutional sources we are going to discuss in the next video, agricultural finance part 2. So don't forget to watch the next video to clear your concept about the agricultural finance in India. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.